Welcome into Sport and Order, the tournament, as the first round continues today. Thank you for checking us out on Twitter. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube or wherever you are watching Sport and Order. Great battle today. In-house, well, everyone's in-house at this point, but a man that I have worked with for a good 5 years now, Stack in the Box podcast, our NFL insider, and a diehard New York Knicks fan, as well as the Oakland A's, too, kind of bizarrely, but somehow, some way that happened. And, of course, your Kansas City Chiefs. Matt Verderame, welcome back to Sport and Order. How are you, Mr. Verderame?
Great. How are you, Carm?
We are great, and we are excited to have you, sir. Your competition today is one of the toughest you will ever run into. Yanks Go Yard, the podcast. Check out the website, doing all sorts of things for Minute Media. Thomas Carannante, welcome to Sport and Order. And by the way, you should be following him on Twitter at Tommy's_takes, damn it. Thomas, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. First time here. I'm thrilled and hope to tell my kids about it someday.
I mean, this is something that the kids will need to learn about down the line. And hey, that's what videos are for. You can show them everything that happened today, come whenever year that is. All right. So here are the rules for Sport and Order. 7 questions on the board. Each question is worth 1. So it's the first to 4 to advance in the Sport and Order tournament. 30 seconds on the clock for each question. You get 30 seconds to answer, and then we switch over, and then I will be the judge and jury and award the point for each question. Matt Verderame, my podcast partner, you're going to get to go first today. Topics are all over the board, but we are going to start with the NBA and give a little New York and fandom love here to both you East Coasters, at least at the start of your careers. And the New York Knicks, I'm calling them the talk of basketball right now. 1 game over 500. And currently the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're also a game and a half up on the 10 seed, the Chicago Bulls. So a very tight Eastern Conference. We'll get to more of that in a second. But first off, most people thought the Knicks were not going to play relevant basketball all year long. Here they are with home court. And yes, we're not exactly all the way through the season, but we're moving along here. The question is, should Tom Thibodeau, the man who left Chicago, the man who left Minnesota, some thought he should never get another job, but Tibbs leading the way here, should he be the top candidate for head coach of the year for bringing the Knicks back to respectability? Verderame, you're up.
You're damn right he ought to be. Look, they're 18-17. Their Vegas over-under win total was 21. Some places 21.5. They're rolling for what they were considered to be, right? 18-17 for them is like if the Lakers were 33-2 right now. So yes, he absolutely should be the coach of the year, especially if they make the playoffs. I didn't know how it's arguable, right? Like they are definitely the story. He got Julius Randle to be an all-star. The Knicks, the darlings of the NBA. Who would have thought?
I like that point on Randle, unlocking of a guy that some never thought would get to this level. Thomas, what do you got?
Kills me to say because I'm a Knicks fan too, but I think that too much needs to go in the Knicks' favor. I think their best case scenario is this 4 seed. If they manage to keep up this play, which we have yet to see yet over the course of however many years. Knicks fans haven't been this excited since 2012. But on the other hand, you have the 76ers who are discovering their identity on the first year with Doc Rivers, the Nets who are getting by with, without at least one of their stars each night under rookie coach Steve Nash. And then you got Quinn Snyder, who pretty much looks like a comic book villain out of the Batman series. And he's ripping through the Western Conference right now with the Jazz. They're covering spreads for 24 straight games or whatever it was. So I think it's going to be tough, but I'm optimistic. I hope it happens, but I just don't think it will.
So you're saying that we're not giving it to Tibbs because there are better candidates. Matt Verderame is saying that, hey, look, this team was supposed to win 21 games. And I love the Randall point, by the way. But, and I hate to live in reality, but I think I'm going to live in reality for the moment. Or Thomas is there. I think Quinn Snyder is going to win this award right now. Nobody thought the Utah Jazz were going to be far and away the top of the Western Conference. I think the mighty Quinn is probably your odds-on favorite. So living in reality for the moment, Thomas takes the lead 1-0 as we do stick with basketball. We're sticking with the Eastern Conference as I was teeing up here. We've got 7 teams all within a game and a half for playoff spots 4 through 8. This is the order right now. New York, Miami, Boston, Toronto, Charlotte, your last playoff team right now, and then Chicago and Indiana. Which 2 teams do you think will fail to make the playoffs? And which of this group will actually earn home court advantage in the first round? Thomas, you're up.
Ooh, Hornets and Pacers, I think, are out. I love the energy the Bulls have been playing with as of late, and I think they'll surpass both of them with the way Zach LaVine's been playing. He's cementing himself as a superstar in the league, 30 or more points in 8 of his last 11. That's exactly what you need down the stretch to propel you to the playoffs. Hornets are too young. Pacers don't have that go-to guy. In terms of hosting a playoff series, it's got to be the Heat. They've been playing awful basketball. They managed to claw themselves back to 17-17, battled through some injuries and some poor play, but their schedule's easing up now. They got the Hawks twice, Pelicans, Magic twice, Pacers twice, Bulls and Cavs over their next 9. So they can rebound really nicely.
All right, Miami with the 4 seed. Matt Verderame, where are you going?
All right, so I agree with Miami on the 4, right? Like Miami started out terribly, and then they got healthy, and they've been fine since. They've been the best of that group now for a while. It's just that they dug themselves an early hole. As far as missing, I agree on Charlotte. Look, Charlotte to me is the worst of the group, and I know I'm going against odds here because Carm's a Bulls fan, but I'm going to say the Bulls. I love LaVine. Markkanen's a good player. They've played 17 home games. They've only played 15 on the road. I don't think that helps. I think it's between Indy and Chicago. And I just think Chicago's not as good as the Pacers, and the Pacers are healthy with Sabonis and Brogdon and guys like that.
Very, very interesting here. This is a tough one. I thought, Verderame, you were going to go with the Bulls because you were going to say they were going to start dumping players, which I think they very well might. One of those key guys is the veteran Thaddeus Young, who I think makes a lot of sense for playoff contending teams. They're actually trying to do something. And I think the Bulls will be aggressive, which could take them out of the playoffs. You didn't go with that. And you said that Markkanen is a good player, which made me kind of want to vomit. So I want to
shoot.
He can pick and pop, but the literally all he can do, and he's not even an elite shooter. And the fact that you just defended Lowry is tough. I think we're gonna give it to Thomas here, a 2-0 start, as I do think Indiana is overachieved at this point. Verderame, you have made a good point too on the Bulls' schedule, which is going to get a lot tougher. It's not just the home and the away. They've played a lot of cupcakes, but 2-0 out of the gate here on the league as we do one more with the logo. And there's been a lot of talk here about changing the logo. Some think they should change it from the current logo, Jerry West, to Kobe Bryant. Others think that maybe the Jumpman logo, yours truly, at least wanted that back in the day. But right now the question is, should the NBA change the logo and perhaps follow some of the push here for Kobe? But if they do change it, if you're saying yes, what should it be changed to? Matt, you're up.
No, I wouldn't change it. It's fine. It's been fine for, 50 years, something like that. And by the way, they didn't, everybody always thinks Jerry West, like, oh, they made him the logo. No, the guy just used Jerry West as a silhouette to make a player. And then it happened to say later on in time that Jerry West was the logo. If you want to change it to somebody, I changed it to Jordan, but you could argue, like, you could change it to Kareem's sky hook. You could change it to Magic on the fast break. You could change it to Kobe's fadeaway. I mean, there's a million options, but I would not change it. I think it's a classic logo. Don't mess with success.
Classic logo, leave it alone. Thomas?
I don't disagree with any of that, but the NBA is a pretty progressive and modern league, and the logo's outdated. It's the only logo that's based off of a player out of all the major sports. And it's not every day you have a player of Kobe Bryant's caliber, age of 41, sadly dies in the helicopter crash. The impact he's left on the game, the way he's influenced other players, helped the NBA grow locally, work to, propel women's sports. One of the hardest workers by, said from all of his peers. A lot of historic moments, 5 rings, 17-time All-Star, the list goes on and on. So Jordan Marks already is all over the game. I think we need the Mamba mentality front and center, if I'm being honest.
So I love Kobe and I miss Kobe, and I think we all do. And his career was absolutely incredible. But I lean towards Matt Verderame on this one. That I listen. It's classic. It's there. It's what there's no need. Don't mess with success. Like all of it. And of course I would love to see Mike there. Maybe they could have like the ceremonial logo for a year, or do it for like an all-star game logo or something for Kobe, which I think would be sweet. Perhaps you do that this year. But overall, I do think you leave it alone. Verderame on the board here, 2-1 as we move to the NFL. And we're looking at the quarterbacks this week. The Cowboys sitting there yet to make a decision on Dak. Most people think they're going to franchise him. We'll see. The Seahawks now have a apparently unhappy quarterback in Russell Wilson, who is the talk of the league right now. I'm wondering Is trading Wilson for Wilson the perfect out for the Cowboys? And Dak may be actually the perfect solution for Seattle. This could be a win-win. You can figure out the rest of the compensation to equal it out. Thomas, you're up.
I used to think it was a win-win, but you kind of look at it, and I actually think the Seahawks would more so be winning in this trade. Over the last 5 years, I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan, but Dak statistically has been better. You would guess that the Cowboys could use that playoff caliber quarterback. That's held them back in recent years, but Russell Wilson has a losing record in the playoffs ever since that Super Bowl run. 19 touchdowns to 11 picks over his last, I think 19 playoff games or whatever it was. So I'm not 19, I'm sorry. 11 playoff games. So not entirely great.
Verderame, is this the perfect solution?
It's an interesting one. Look, if you're Seattle, though, I'm trading him to the Raiders if you're going to trade him at all, because they're the one team that's in the AFC on that list, right? Like, I'm getting him out of the conference. And if you're Russell Wilson, the whole idea that you want to get somewhere where you have more control over things. You want to go to Dallas? Who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him that he's going to be with Jerry Jones? That's not going to work out very well. I don't think Jerry's going to step aside and let Russell Wilson run things. But as far as on the field, it would be interesting for sure. I don't hate it. But I think in the end, they're both better off where they are. Certainly Wilson, maybe Dak.
Interesting. Better off where they are. I mean, I guess that in the end of the day, I think this should be worked out. There's no reason that Dak should not be in Dallas long-term. Whatever the Cowboys are doing is just bizarre, but does he belong there? Yes, he does. Should Russell Wilson ever leave Seattle and leave the 12s? No, he shouldn't. If I was a Seahawks fan, I would be incredibly irritated that my guy is now front and center, unhappy with the organization. If I have to get rid of someone, Pete Carroll, you're going to have to find yourself another place of occupation in the NFL. I also think, Verderame, to your point, like if you're going to trade him, you want to trade him out of the conference. I think that does make sense. But here, on the other side of the coin, a lot of ways to go here. You want to get the best player back, and maybe the Cowboys would actually give you Dak. But I think at the end of the day, I guess I do agree with Matt that they're probably best off if that both of them can work it out where they're at. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do the flip. So we'll go 2-2 here. Going into question 5, back to Verderame to start here as we stay with football. And J.J. Watt announcing himself that indeed he has picked a team, and it's the Arizona Cardinals, a 2-year, $31 million deal. Question is, did Watt make the right decision choosing Arizona and the Cardinals? Did they make a wise investment as well? A little two-parter here. Matt, what do you think?
He made the right decision. I'm going to go ahead and guess that he got paid the most by the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think he was turning down more money to go to the desert. And a lot of people like to go there to retire, right? It's Arizona. It's good weather. Like, I don't hate it. If you're Watt, you go to a team that's up and coming, that's pretty good, that could get really good if they make a couple of the right moves. On the flip side of it, though, do I think the Cardinals overpaid? Yeah. He's had one good year in 5 seasons. Last year, he was healthy. He was good, not great. 2018, he was an all-pro. The 2 years before and the 2 years after, it's been hurt a ton. I don't love it from the Cardinals' perspective. I love it from Watt, though. He gets paid.
Watt making his dough. Thomas.
I like it for both of them. And sadly, to your point, Matt, they got to overpay because who's going to want to go to Arizona when you have other contenders out there in the Bills and Packers? But I know the people who are saying, he should have went to more of a contender. The Bills have had decades worth of ineptitude in the playoffs. The Packers have come up short so many times in recent years. Watt now joins the 4th best pass rush from last year. They had 48 sacks. He adds to that. Packers also had some cap problems, so they would have had to, do some subtraction and addition, and it never works out like that. And I'm kind of down on the NFC West with the Niners, whatever they're going through, Russell Wilson in Seattle, and I think the Rams are overhyped at this point. So I think it's a good fit.
I'm personally disappointed that he did not end up in Green Bay. I thought that would have been a very fitting ending and just would have made a whole lot of sense. It would have been a nice romantic NFL story. But Thomas, you're bringing up the fair points that, look, the Packers did not have the money to spend. And Verderame, I think where you're right here also is that he took the best deal. You earn as much money as you possibly can. And you're also going to a team that did not make the playoffs last year and is on the verge of it. So maybe you get a lot of credit for moving forward. I think the most interesting thing, though, I'm going to give it to Thomas here, just teeing up the division, and maybe he's sizing it up and seeing that, look, there's a huge opportunity here for us to be a lot better than people think. So let's go that route. 3-2 as we go to question 6. Here we go with baseball. A lot of seasoned veterans are trying to hang on as we look at different guys trying to make rosters here going into 2021. And we've got a lot of prospects trying to break through ahead of schedule, make an impact. I'm asking, who will be the surprise impact player of 2021? Thomas, you're up.
I think people are sleeping on King Felix Hernandez, man. Last year, the Braves signed him. They thought they were going to get a nice campaign out of him, some sort of a bounce back. He was 1.98 ERA in 4 starts in the spring. He opted out because of COVID. Last 3 years with Seattle, he battled injuries and declining velocity on his fastball, so that kind of hurt him a little bit. But we liked what we saw last spring. The O's, he's probably in a good spot to make the roster because they don't have that good of starting pitching. They could potentially use him as a trade chip in the middle of the year. And he's got good numbers against the AL East. He's got all good ERAs against Boston, New York, Tampa, and Toronto. So I like the Fed.
King Felix to find the fountain of youth. Matt Verderame.
He doesn't make that roster. He'll certainly be retiring. Look, I really I like Juan DeFranco. I'll stay in the same division. Yeah. Look, Tampa's loaded with young kids. They always are because they're always trading off their stars to get younger and to replenish their system. That kid has talent for days. By the way, it's his birthday today. He turns 20 years old. I think he could come up and be that kind of all of a sudden like, wow, this guy, you can't take your eyes off him. Kind of like when Puig came up for the Dodgers or Tatis for the Padres, where it's just an immediate impact. I think Franco on that team, he'll come up and he'll be big time right away.
First of all, the fact that you know that it's his birthday is incredibly. Right. I mean, I that's just off the charts impressive. And I liked the argument that Thomas made, but I don't think that King Felix has much left in there. And in that division, even though he's had success in the past, I wonder how it's going to. I mean, the Yankees are going to be running the bat rack to get a shot at King Felix right now. So we're gonna tie it up and put it all on the line here for question 7.
Oh, baby.
And this is I love this question. I love this month. It's Women's History Month. We just came off African American History Month. It's a beautiful time to honor as we move into March. And here's the question for you guys. If you have a daughter like you do, Matt Verderame, or perhaps will be the father of a daughter someday, Thomas, I don't know your personal history here, but I'm thinking that would be the category that you fall into. What female athlete would you want your daughter to look to as a role model? Ton of great candidates out there, basically endless. But if you had to pick one, which way are you going? Matt, you're up.
Megan Rapinoe. And I thought actually a lot about this. I'd want her to, not because Rapinoe's a great all-time soccer player and a winner and all those things, but because she stands for what she believes in. And to me, that's more valuable than any trophy you can have. And I'm somebody who's a big believer in, like, you play sports to win. You go out there, you give everything you've got, but there's more to life than just wins and losses and whatnot. And Rapinoe being so outspoken, being so out in front of a lot of different issues, of a lot of different things that I think are important in society, that would be who I would tell Maisie, look, be like that. Follow that lead. Be out in front.
Megan Rapinoe is a great answer. Thomas, a lot out there. Who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Megan Rapinoe's partner, Sue Bird. Absolute legend. She battled injuries this past year at 39 years old to help the Storm capture another championship. I think it was their 4th. She's tied for the most of all time in WNBA history. 11-time All-Star, 5-time first-team All-WNBA selection. She's one of 4 women ever to win WNBA title, NCAA title, Olympic gold medal, and FIBA World Cup. And basketball, team sport, builds character. She's an extremely selfless player, constantly puts her teammates in good position to succeed. To me, that's a top-notch role model, and obviously she's outspoken on many of the issues at the forefront, especially with the WNBA. So that's my pick.
Yeah, the power couple being, I hope they're watching right now. I know they're diehards of sport. I can absolutely feel it, but it's a big time thing. This is a tough answer and tough choice for me, but I'm leaning towards to Matt Verderame, because I thought what you just said there was really important, and it doesn't get queued up enough. It's not at the end of the day all about the wins and losses, but who you actually stand for. What it's about 100% giving your best, and the courage that Megan Rapinoe, she's more, and I'm picking hairs here, but she's just a little bit more out there than Sue in the public eye. So there's been, I guess, on some level is willing to, just take on the attention. And I just think we all have a ton of respect for her. So I really liked how you just said it's not all about winnings and losses, man. There's a lot of wins and losses. It doesn't necessarily have to go into the left column. I thought that was beautiful, Verderame. You moved me to tears. So I am giving question 7 and a narrow victory to my Stacking the Box podcast partner, who I was not biased for today, Thomas. I think that was clear, but he gets it today in a victory. A tremendous battle, as per always, on Sport and Order. Thomas, great stuff, man. Tremendous opening salvo here. We can't wait to have you on again.
I appreciate it. I'll be back whenever you guys ask me.
And we will be calling. Matt Verderame, you advance here. You survive. It was dicey. You started out slow. We almost had a 3-0 lead there at one point, but you were able to rally and you pulled it off.
I've been on the show a few times. I was able to keep my composure in the face of enormous pressure, despite Thomas's great effort.
I appreciate you naming the pressure that you were feeling. We appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, the Sport and Order tournament is every Monday and Thursday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central. We really appreciate it when you check us out live, as you did today, on YouTube, on Twitter, and wherever else you're watching Sport and Order. I don't know if we're live on Facebook today or not, but thank you so much for watching, and we appreciate it. Congrats to Matt Verderame. The tournament rolling on. Another first round matchup coming up on Thursday. We will see you next time.